and we thought that his song and his voice his voice was the right voice for our song, but also the right voice for the character that Jeff Bridges played in this film. So we called him, which is kind of an unorthodox way to play a song for someone, but we were up against the gun. We needed to get a record out quickly, and we thought he would be a good shot, and we called him and played the song over the phone. And over the phone, Jim said that he would do the song and release a record. And so I got his key just by listening to his record, and I made a track in his key with the whole orchestra in the 20th Century Fox soundstage in California, and I brought it to New York with me. And when I met Jim for the first time in his producer's office, the first thing he did after we said hello and I shook hands, he asked me if he could hear that song again. He had only heard it the one time over the phone. So I played it for him and I sang it. And he said, he knew that he had to do the song because it touched him in a way, because he knew that it reminded him of his father, who had died at a very young age. Well, tragically, that happened with Jim. He was in a plane crash when he was actually promoting this song. He was on the road. And
such a shame.
Yeah, he used to carry around in his back pocket an airline schedule of these short plane hops, because he did a lot of. He hadn't yet emerged as a big star, although by the time our song came out, he already had Bad Leroy Brown. But after he died, our song was rising up on the charts, and people turned to another record called "Time in a Bottle," which he wrote. And actually, of all the songs that he sang, "I Got a Name" was the only song that was a hit that he didn't write. And sometime after he passed away, I had a call from Ingrid Cartier, from his wife, and she asked me, she lives in San Diego, and asked me if I would come down there one day and look through some of the material that Jim left over. Maybe I would finish some of the songs. So I said, gee, Ingrid, I was really honored that she asked me to do it.
Absolutely.
And she said, well, who else? You're the only other person whose song you sang.
Yeah. I Got a Name by Jim Croce, and the thing is, this song right here specifically, which is just, got it right here for you, such a beautiful song by Jim Croce, I Got a Name. The message, and you're right when you do talk about how he had such unique vocals, Charles. He had such unique vocals, and the perfect part for this, and you composing a song as beautiful as this, pretty amazing.
So, what's interesting about that is that years later, Lena Horne did that song in her own fashion. And she was on Broadway doing her one-woman show called Lena and Her Music, Lena Horne and Her Music. I couldn't go to New York to see her then, but I heard that she was doing a spectacular job of singing the song, and very different from the Jim Croce version. So, and I had heard she had recorded that song, actually, with Michel Legrand conducting and arranging.
Yeah.
But she didn't get into the style of how she eventually did it until this concert. I did get to see her when she performed here in Los Angeles at the Shubert Theater. And she came out and did a signature song, which was, I've forgotten. And she went right into this, Stormy Weather, I'm sorry. So she was most known for Stormy Weather.
Okay.
And then she went right into my song, right? So I Got a Name. And she brought this dynamic quality to it. She did it slower. She did it with a stronger beat, with a full acting voice. And she was extraordinary. And the audience responded to her by standing up and cheering in the middle of her second number in the show, myself included. It was very thrilling. Well, I didn't go backstage because I didn't know her at the time, and I didn't arrange to get to see her. But I sent her a bouquet of flowers to her dressing room the next day, and just said, from a grateful composer. And I thanked her, and I got a letter back the very next day from her, and I can practically quote it because I have it framed. It's up on my shelf. And it says to the composer, my favorite song, you have no idea how much this song means to me, because every time I sing it, I think of my father and all he gave to me. So it's an interesting thing about songs, how certain songs make certain connections for people, in this case.
Oh, yeah.
A number of people have made connections with their own fathers through this song. So those are very wonderful moments for me to treasure in my past,
Well, I can imagine. I really can. Now, those listening, we say that you're a 2-time Emmy-winning composer. You're in the Songwriters Hall of Fame. You have a Grammy for Killing Me Softly with his song. And those listening, we could say that all we want. We could bring that you're a 2-time Emmy, and Grammy Award winner. That's fine, that those are great credentials. But those that are listening would probably better understand who you are by listening to songs like this.
Sunday, Monday, happy days.
I mean,
Tuesday, Wednesday, happy days.
these are the songs you composed. Happy Days. Laverne Shirley, Love Boat, Love American Style. I mean, this song, you listen to it one time and it sticks in your head. You're humming it. I've been humming it for the last week. It's just a great song and truly amazing. I mean, how you sat down, you composed a song like this, and like you said, one thing leads to another. But you have such an itinerary, Charles, with these great themes. And, listeners listen to these songs, or people listen to these songs, these themes, and they hum them, but they may not know who composed them. Well, we've got the guy that composed, themes like, Happy Days, and this one right here. I mean, amazing. I mean, I can't get over it. It's pretty spectacular. I mean, how did you feel when you knew these themes lived on as long as they did? I mean, the shows obviously are not on anymore, but how did you feel, 10 years later, 12 years later, 15 years later?
Believe it or not, JJ, they're mostly all on around the world. TV Land has it on.
Well, the reruns. But I mean,
reruns. Yeah, obviously they don't keep making them.
Right.
But I go to work in the morning like everyone gets up and goes to work. I go to my piano, and I usually go to work on assignments. I'm hired to do one thing or the other, and my career has been very varied because I've written, as I mentioned, my early songs were in Spanish.
Okay.
My first album was a Latin album with a charanga band, with the great Johnny Pacheco playing flute in my band, all in Spanish.
Wow.
And I working with Ellie Romero, one of the great singers and songwriters. But then also, I've done many films. I've done probably about 100 motion pictures and television films.
Wow.
Going back to Barbarella and Goodbye Columbus, and then later Foul Play and 9 to 5. And so that's been a good part of my life. And a lot of my songs have come from those experiences. I mean, with Happy Days, Laverne Shirley, other shows, I also did the score, not just the theme.
Yeah.
It was hard to do the score for those shows.
And that must have been amazing. That must have been an immense pleasure or an immense honor to do them.
Well, it was. I was very fortunate to have a very good ride with Gary Marshall and Eddie Milkis and Tom Miller, who were the two producers of the show, and Gary Marshall, who produced and also created shows like Angie, another one of my shows that we wrote a song from Ray McGovern called Different Worlds. That was a good song. And then, I did a number of series with those guys, and I really had a great ride with them. But, I mean, for example, Doug Kramer was the president of Paramount Television when I came out to California to do Goodbye Columbus, and they asked me to stay around to do Love American Style, which also turned out to be a long-running series.
Yep.
And he went over to partner with Aaron Spelling at 20th Century Fox. They called me in, and they asked me if I would do this new show, which I should think about is like Love American Style underwater. And that was the Love Boat.
Yep.
And so I did that show. And, really a lot of these stories that I'm talking about, I talked about in my book. I mean, for example, when I went to Aaron Spelling to play the theme from him, he asked me to write for Love Boat and Paul Williams to do the lyric. I had a demo prepared, and when I went to their offices, he was excited to hear the song.
Right.
Doug Kramer and Aaron Spelling, but they had no machine to play it on. It wasn't a tape recorder. There wasn't a cassette machine. And finally I said, well, let's find a piano. We're on the lot of 20th Century Fox.
Yeah.
I'll do it for you live. Well, there was no piano around also on the lot of 20th Century Fox. So they kind of looked at me and shrugged their shoulders like, how do we get to hear the song? And I said, all right, Aaron, here goes. I went, love. exciting and new. Come aboard. We're expecting you. The Love Boat. Anyway, that's how they heard my song the first time, me singing a cappella, snapping my fingers. And the curious thing is they liked it,
Wow.
Which is good for me and Paul Williams. And then we asked Jack Jones to sing the song, and the rest, they say, is history. It's been around for a long time.
Yeah, and they, like you said, reruns, of course. And what I meant was back, when they were on TV, and they're still on TV via reruns, but back when they were on live, in other words, for that instance, they stood the test of time. I mean, clearly the reruns help, but after their last episode, the official last episode, obviously, you didn't know that they were going to be good enough maybe to become reruns, nowadays at least, and they're still on TV and they stand the test of time. And whenever you're watching Happy Days or Laverne and Shirley or one of these shows that you created the themes and scores for as well, you probably just sit there and all, I guess for you, you compose them, you hear them all the time. I mean, you composed and you compose them, but we think we sit here and we hum them each and every day. We're just humming them as we're walking down the street or while we're making a sandwich or whatever. It's like we're sitting here just humming. And somebody in the chat room brought up a great question, and I want to see what you have to say about this. Did you have an idea what those shows were? Or did you just compose the theme prior to the shows?
Oh no, I'm always working to the shows.
Okay.
I mean, sometimes it can be even in script form, but usually I'm working to a pretty finished show, and very oftentimes I'm working to a main title visual. We'll see. I mean, Laverne and Shirley, for example, they went out and they shot the girls on the New York street scene on the Paramount lot, just doing a whole bunch of fun things for the main title. And Norman Gimbel and I wrote that song about these two girls. All we